Hi, Sydney. What a pleasure to talk to you today.
Hi, Alexandra. So nice to meet you. Thank you for being here.
Now, you filmed in BC before. How different was it to film our holiday story in Kelowna?
Yeah, actually, I have lived in Vancouver and I've worked in Vancouver since I was 15 years old, but I'd never been to Kelowna, which I thought was crazy because I have friends who live in Kelowna and that have properties there. So I was pretty excited to explore. And it was much different to film in a city where I knew no one because you really rely on the people around you. You rely on the cast, the crew, the producers to be your company. And so it really made us bond as a cast and crew. And it was just a beautiful place to be. There were beautiful wineries right on the water, walkable. I just really fell in love with Kelowna.
What was it like to go from a teenager to a woman in her 20s in our holiday story? Was the movie filmed in order, or did you have to jump back and forth?
We jumped back and forth. And then there were some days where I would go from 16 to 26. And I think there may have been one day where we did two jumps. So 16 to 26 to 16. And I think that was only one day though. And it was a challenge, but a really fun one. I didn't realize in the hair and makeup test, that's when I really realized, oh, these are two separate parts of her life. And I really have to distinguish those because as a 16-year-old, I look very different in it. I dress very different. And then as a 26-year-old, I'm dealing with much different problems and I'm just at a different place in my life. So I really enjoyed it. And that's one of the things that also drew me to this story and to this role.
You play Joanna, the daughter of the characters played by Nikki DeLoche and Warren Christie. What was it like working with them?
They are awesome. They're such great actors, such great people, and so professional. They set the tone because they've done this before. This was my first time doing a Hallmark holiday movie, but they are seasoned pros. And so learning from them and watching how they were on set was was great. It felt like we were stepping onto a professional, comforting, easy breezy set just because they made it that way.
Nikki is from Georgia. Warren is from Ireland. Then you've got some Canadian cast and crew members. What was it like to work with such an international cast?
Interesting. Yeah, I think a lot of time when you're coming together with a group of people you've never worked with before, everyone has their own story. Everybody's from a different place. And this was no exception, you know? Everybody brought their own experiences to set. It was nice to get to know everybody and hear about their upbringing. But I think a lot of times, especially when filming on location, everybody's coming from all over and then you're just coming together for this common project. But I didn't quite realize how international just because it seems normal, especially actors. We could be filming in Vancouver, but then everybody's from the States or everybody's from different parts of Canada. And I see that a lot, like in Vancouver. A lot of times it's like, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Manitoba. I'm from Nova Scotia. I'm from Ontario. So it just feels normal because people usually go to those main cities for acting.
You have a name that sounds so Canadian. Tell me how you got that.
Yes, I am Sydney Scotia from Sydney, Nova Scotia. My parents were raised in Sydney, Nova Scotia, and that's where they met. And so Scotia is actually my middle name. They named me that. And sometimes I wish that my first name was Scotia. We talk about it, and they're like, "Oh, we should have named you Scotia." So I tried to make that a thing on this set where I was like, you can call me Scotia." Didn't quite stick, but that is, yeah, I have a very Canadian name, and a lot of people in the States growing up didn't know. I got a lot of Sydney Scotia But I'm glad you recognize the Canadian roots.
Now, even though you grew up in the States, do you feel like your parents instilled Canadian values or habits in your upbringing?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. My parents are the most gracious, humble people, and I grew up in Arizona. So it I had a very different upbringing than a small town Canadian city in the Maritimes. So I think I did take a lot of mannerisms and values from my parents, my brother and I both. And also my brother is 8 years older than me, so he also has those same values, and he spent a lot of time in Canada growing up as well in Toronto and in Nova Scotia. But they're very specific people in Nova Scotia. They're very loving and caring. They get to know their neighbors. They're just wonderful. And so I think I was grateful for for that growing up. I love what they've taught me, and I try to emulate my morals off them always.
And one final question. On your IMDb page, you've got 6 projects coming up after Our Holiday Story. When do you ever get time for a break? And what do you like to do in your spare time?
Well, I am so grateful that this has been such a busy year and that I have these projects because last year was a strike and the years before that were pandemic years. And so being busy is I'm just very grateful in this industry to be busy this year. I never take it for granted. Um, but in my spare time, I love dancing. I always try to get to a dance class because that's what I grew up doing and I love doing, and playing guitar and singing. I'd love to put out more music at some point, and so I've been trying to write a little bit more and just spending quality time with family and friends as well. I'm based in New York, so I get to walk around and there's always something to do here. There's always a new thing happening. So it's constantly changing.
That sounds great. What kind of dance classes, by the way, do you take?
Growing up, it was all contemporary jazz, ballet, tap, hip hop, and now a lot of the more commercialized dance studios where you can do drop-in classes, it's a lot of hip hop and contemporary. And that's what I stick to. I mean, I every once in a while I'll try to drop in on a ballet class again and be very humbled because if you don't do it every day, like when you're growing up, you lose some skills. But I love hip hop. Hip hop's probably my favorite at the moment.
Oh, that sounds like fun. I'm a former ballet dancer myself, so but I've
Oh,
never.
you are? So you know. Do you still take class?
No, not anymore.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those things where I look back and you see the clear progress in ballet
Mhm.
and the strength that you have to have in ballet is insanity. So I really respect ballerinas.
Yeah. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today about this movie and about your life.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks so much for the questions and for having me.
Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please hit the like and subscribe buttons, as well as the notification bell in the top right-hand corner if you'd like to see more of my celebrity interviews. I've got a lot more coming up, so please keep checking back.